Something must be done.
You say either. So anymore, and Fred, yesterday my brothers-in-law were at my place, and we had a wonderful chat, catching up on some old fun. And after everything, when they left, I felt fulfilled. Now, just look at how I said it. I said brothers-in-law. Sometimes there's a temptation to say in-laws. Brother-in-laws, because many of us would shorten it and say, "Oh, I'm going to my in-laws."
Yes.
And my in-laws would come over. My in-laws.
So that's what
would
we
come.
say.
Yes. So there's that temptation to forget that the plural is actually the brothers
Not the in-law.
or the sisters and not the in-law. So if you want to say it right, please don't say brother-in-laws. Say brothers-in-law.
Did they really come to your house, or was it just for say it right purposes?
They came to my house. They came to daddy.
Okay, I see. Well, good morning to your brothers-in-law.
Oh yeah, they are very fantastic, man. One has afro, so it reminds me of my heyday.
No comment.
Well, the newspaper review is brought to us by CompuGhana. Shop at any CompuGhana branch nationwide and get up to 40% discount and free delivery. CompuGhana, passion for technology. That's where I bought my phone. Anyway, let's see what's making news this morning. Anymore and credible.
Okay, I'll start with the Ghanaian Times this morning. And today is a day. Who is who in Parliament? Deadlock. As meeting to determine majority minority in Parliament ends inconclusive again. Tewu declares national industrial strike. The late President Rawlings to be laid to rest at Military Cemetery, Burma Camp. Ghana records 1,330 COVID-19 active cases. We are steadily rising. 3.9 million Ghana cards remain uncollected. On the back page, 400 master crafts persons undergo training, and that's it for the Ghanaian Times. I'll come back to this story about the deadlock in Parliament, about who retains the majority or who gets the majority.
I also come to the COVID stories because there's some information there. I have the daily graphic, and I take you now to the Supreme Court. The election petition, Supreme Court determines Mohammed's motion today. Comes with a photo of the Chief Justice Kwesi Enin Yeboah, and below that you have the Supreme Court complex building over there. There's enough food for students, according to the National Food Buffer Stock. Tewu begins nationwide strike. SIGA clarifies dissolution of boards. Comes with photo of the SIGA boss, Stephen Asamoah Boateng there. Page 6. Ugandans go to the polls today.
That's
and
a big one.
Yeah, a big one. Yoweri Museveni has been there for 34 years, still contesting. His opponent, his main opponent, is half his age.
Yeah, I watched his interview with Christina Paul. And, when he was asked the question that for many people, 80% of your country's population are below the ages of 35. Now, they were not there when you became president.
Exactly.
And so why don't you move away? He says, we feed them. Well, the reason why they're still alive, they're doing very well. So he should be given another chance again. You should watch that interview that Yoweri Museveni had with Christina Mampo. You would laugh throughout.
A worrying story here on page 9 of the Daily Graphic. U.S. executes the only woman on federal death row. That's Lisa Montgomery. She's been executed by lethal injection.
There was a stay of execution because her lawyers had argued that she was mentally unstable because she had gone through so much abuse. So apparently growing up, her stepfather had raped her. When his friends come over, they would take her to the shed and they would take turns to rape her. She had gone through so much abuse. And then she had miscarried at some point. So what she did was that she killed a 24-year-old girl who was pregnant, and then cut her stomach open and took out the baby. The baby survived. The baby was returned to the family, but she's been in prison. She's the first woman to have been executed in 67 years. So, there was the argument that let her just live out her life in prison. She's been through so much. Obviously, it's affected her mentally, but
the family disagreed. The family of the victim
disagreed. Of course they would.
I mean, the horror their daughter had gone through. She deserved to die.
It's a harrowing. Something else that's harrowing in the U.S. is this impeachment Trump situation, which the vice president has said that he's not going to do what needs to be done. I can't remember the technical term for it, but so that Trump is impeached. So they're going to vote on it, and we know that the Democrats hold the House. So it should be an interesting. I think they're going to do it today, between today and tomorrow. It should be an interesting next couple of days, considering that he actually just has a few.
Yeah,
More
just about
days.
6 or 7 days
I
to
think
go.
for them, it's really just making the point that to prove just how annoyed and unsatisfied, so that the record is there that he was impeached. I think the Americans are trying to redeem
Yep,
themselves.
I
Actually,
don't
yeah.
think Trump will leave office before his term actually ends. So
No, I mean,
what's the point?
the point is to ensure Trump doesn't run for the presidency again.
Again.
So what they want to do, so the Senate Majority Leader has indicated that after the swearing in of Joe
Biden.
Biden, they'll continue with the processes for
Of it,
Trump,
yeah.
just to ensure he doesn't become president again. So that Trump doesn't change his mind. I mean, he may want to run again, but the Americans or those within the government do not want to see Trump coming back as president. They believe that he's disgraced America. They believe that he incited people to engage in what they call insurrection.
Yeah.
When they marched to Capitol.
Capital, yeah, the
Yeah,
capital.
but that's one thing we also would have to look at, because in Ghana, while we're discussing the United States, we saw, our parliamentarians
Kicking ballot boxes and
taking ballot boxes, and the
playing
military
rugby and all sorts of things.
then decided to walk in there. And look, that is definitely not good for a democratic country like ours. 28 years of our democracy, the last thing you want is the military that had been in the barracks for some time to be coming back. And let me just chip this in. Colonel Festus Abwaji has always indicated that we seem to use the military a lot, and we're making them part of our everyday life. And the challenge with, even in elections, the challenge of making the military part of our everyday life, and when there are challenges, you think that they are your last resort. You go to them and say, come in here, you are the ones who want you to deal with the challenges. It gives them also that feeling that, look, when there's a problem and there's nobody dealing with it, we should come and deal with it. We saw it in the 60s and the 70s. They tell you that the country is full of corruption, and so they've come to take over to cleanse everybody.
Colonel Festus Abwaji issued this warning before the election, and I disagreed with him at the time. But now it's coming home. I'm beginning to understand why he was making the point, he being an expert in that area. The scenes we saw in Parliament wasn't the best, because we actually have policemen who are stationed in Parliament who could have taken charge of the situation we saw there. But the military was ordered in. And mind you, the operations of the military is such that they cannot just get up and start going. Somebody must order them. So
we still don't know who ordered them.
Who was this?
Well, this, and I mean, the fact that we don't know who ordered them, and the fact that the former defense minister, thinks that the military came in to protect lives is even more dangerous. This is the point. Now, he says that the MPs, there was a fear that the MPs could actually do something untoward, or could, because they're not checked when they went to Parliament. And so the military with the police came in to ensure the safety of members. Okay. Now you have a police post in Parliament. And that's not all. We had lots of policemen around in the presence of Parliament,
Indeed.
ensuring that the right things were done. What prevented those policemen from coming in? And also, what happened to our intelligence gathering? Because the NPP said they knew the NDC was going to do some of these things. And so if you gathered intelligence, for instance, what prevented you from saying we're going to be checking even members of Parliament before they enter, just for the purpose of this particular inauguration of Parliament? And the challenge is this. Whenever the military takes over a country, the executive will run, the judiciary will continue. The only arm of government that does not function
That's Parliament.
is the legislature. So for Parliament, they should even be concerned. And one of the things I'd want to see is that when Parliament resumes tomorrow, they should be conducting investigations into why the military came to Parliament. Something that must never, ever happen in this country again. Look, we have the police. Even that one, the MPs were unhappy. Okay? But the police is a lesser of the two evil. The police are civilians. Okay, yeah, the military sees the police as civilians. They are friends. The military is they are trained to kill. And the last thing you do is to have them in the country's...
I don't think what happened here is beyond our police officers.
Not at all.
Not at all. It can never be beyond them. And I know the kind of officers we have in Parliament, very professional, headed by
Freeman Titi.
They're so professional and can handle this without actually.
But what we
creating
also do
problems
by
with this.
bringing in the military in a situation like this is that we also undermine the police, because the message that we're giving out is that the police are not capable of handling situations like this. Therefore, we need to bring in the military. So for somebody like me who's sitting, at the back and maybe is not as knowledgeable about some of these things, the message I may get is that when it's important, we call the military. When it's not so important, we call the police.
Exactly.
Is that really a message that we want to give? Because I have friends and family who lived through the coup, who lived through military rule, and they talk about the fact that, look, we've come so far, in our democracy, so we must be careful about taking little steps that pull us back, because it's little drops of water that make a mighty ocean.
Look, let me just say this finally. Yesterday was 13th January 2021. Now, on the 13th of January 1972, the Second Republic was overthrown. And one of those who took part in the coup, Captain Joel So, he doesn't like it when I mention his name, but I'll mention his name, Captain Joel So. Look, he would tell you that when it comes to coup, the last thing you want to do is to take chances. And he, having staged a coup in 1978, decided that nobody should ever overthrow a government again. This is not good for our democracy. Anyway, let's continue with the headlines.
Okay, so I'm going to go straight into the Chronicle. Another thing that may not be very exciting for our democracy, which is the majority or minority fireworks in Parliament tomorrow as NPP and NDC put Speaker Bagbin to the test. I really want to see this matter settled as quickly as possible.
Because, there's been lots of controversies in there because the Constitution talks about an independent person joining. If you join a political party, you would lose your seat. Now, in deciding, for instance, that he would work with the NPP, has he joined NPP? That's the former MP.
It doesn't make him a member
A
of
member of the
NPP,
NPP. So he
yeah.
doesn't join the NPP. The Constitution makes provision that parties could come together in a coalition government to form a majority. The standing orders from Parliament says that the minority shall be the party with the highest number of votes apart from the governing party.
Exactly.
That tells you that we did not anticipate this kind of situation. We always thought that whenever there
would
is
be clear.
elections, the governing party, the party that wins the election,
Would take
would
the
win
House, yeah.
the parliamentary elections also, and so would form the majority. Now that you have 137, can it be said that the Fomena MP has become the party that can join the NPP to form a majority? Because the Constitution says
That's not a
the
party.
parties subject to approval by the National Executive Committee can do that.
Winston, I'm sure if it was as simple and straightforward as you're making it sound, which is good, they would have been able to come to a consensus by now.
I've not made it sound very simple and
No, I'm
straightforward.
saying to me it sounds like, okay, this is what it is. Therefore, the independent candidates, if he is a party on his own, should be able to join the NPP to form the majority. It sounds quite straightforward, something that doesn't need 2 or 3 days of deliberation. So obviously, my point is that there's a lot more at play than just one person joining this. We know that there's a power struggle going on because it's not even just about the majority minority, it's also about all the committees. I mean, when you read the story, they're talking about committees, they're talking about who is heading which committees, they're talking about the finance committee, the
So if
defense
you become the majority,
committee.
then you are the head of the committee.
Exactly. So there are lots of nuances at play, which is why we're going into day 3 of deliberation.
Because in the first 2 days of deliberations, the Fomena MP did not indicate in writing to the Speaker which side he wanted to join.
Yeah, but certain doesn't
So-
mean
So-
certain doesn't
so-
mean you are part.
No,
Coming
so-
to live in my house doesn't make you a member
So
of
you
the
have
family.
137. Nobody has an absolute majority. That has not happened before.
Yeah.
And what I sought to do, and what I sought to do was to show that the challenges as a result of the fact that if you look at all our laws, when they even talk about parties, they make reference to political party reps. The independent person in all discussions does not really show up or pop up. It is the reason why I'm saying we didn't anticipate, and that's why it's become the challenge, because with 137, the NDC says there is no majority. The MPP says, the Fomena MP is indicating he wants to join us. It makes us the majority. the speaker says he must do that in writing. The reason why in previous situations you haven't seen it in writing, Sami Odame, is that you had an absolute majority.
Yeah.
So you didn't have a problem.
Okay, so
But
you
now
should
that there's no
write so
absolute
that all of us
majority-
can move on.
Yes,
from
he's
this
written. He's
issue.
written to the speaker.
Okay,
It
because
was
I want to talk
difficult.
about the fact that we business at Anchorful Prison is backfiring. That's on the front page of the Chronicle, but we've run out of time. So just get the newspapers and then you can catch up with all the
story
other
Sami
stories.
prevented me from doing. I'm so much interested in that. In Germany, the Hairdressers Association are very unhappy with footballers because there's a lockdown, because of COVID, and that hairdressers cannot operate at the moment. But the footballers come to the pitch with new haircuts. Who is doing this? for
Their
them?
hair.
They come at home.
Who is doing
They
their
do it at
hair?
home. Anyway, online news review is
Interesting.
brought to you by Zenith Bank in your best interest and Goyle Good Energy. So, going cashless has not been this convenient and exciting. Goyle e-payment system is now compatible with GH-Link, the national payment platform. And what that means is that you can now use your GH-Link card on Goyle POS machine to purchase fuel. And every fuel purchase is recorded automatically on your monthly bank statement, helping cardholders to track and manage their expenses. So, go ahead and use your GH-Link card to buy fuel and all lubricants from any of Goyle's over 400 stations across Ghana. Go cashless and protect yourself and stick to all COVID-19 protocols in these times. Goyle Good Energy, Goyle Yenara ENZ. But Wafini 2021 is your year. So don't just insure your car, insure na feel it. Insure your car with Enterprise for an amazing surprise. Get free fuel coupons, free sanitizers, and more. 2021 is your year. So insure your car with Enterprise and win. Dream big with us, Enterprise Insurance. Your advantage. Terms and conditions apply. Let's get to myjoyonline.com. Former MP officially aligns with NPP side in Parliament. So that would, settle a lot of the conversation. And Chief Justice to look into Muntaka's bribery allegation. Government commits to addressing Tewa's concerns after Wednesday's strike. CityNewsroom.com says 2020 elections, NPP and NDC initiated 16 legal proceedings against each other, and Bagbing was selected by consensus and not elected. Our chairman Sabons is still insisting. If you go to BBC, says Trump impeached for inciting U.S. Capitol riot, and Sri Lanka recover from 25-3 in first test against England, and the pop star, the president, and a COVID crackdown. That's Bobby Wine in Uganda. Anyway, time for the BBC News, brought to us by Fidelity Bank. Believe with us, but first, some few messages from our partners.
Hey, Baba. Charlie, I want a haircut. Quick! I have somewhere